Today on Money Matters, the challenges faced by local manufacturers in dealing with the new normal. What does it take for them to thrive in the post-pandemic world? Join us as we explore how manufacturers can thrive in a changing economic landscape. Good evening and welcome to another episode of Money Matters with me, Zahir Kelvin Ong Abdullah. We have in the studio with us Tan Sri So Tian Lai, Federation of Malaysian Manufacturers FMM President. Thank you, Tan Sri, for spending time with us today to talk more about FMM.
Thank you very much.
Malaysia's manufacturing index basically slipped in January, but manufacturers are bullish when it comes to 2021. So what are the grounds for this optimism, and is the National Immunization Program being one of it?
Regarding this slip in January, actually it does not mean that the activities are not increasing. The main thing is the export activities during February had increased a lot. Our exports during February increased by 17.6%. Versus January about 6.6%. So it means that a lot of activities being carried out during that period of time. That's why in February, the index increased to 4.5%. So what I can say is the National Immunization Program could be one of the reasons, but not the main reason.
Right.
Yes.
Now, the last few days have seen the numbers for COVID-19 rising. So what approach is FMM taking where this is concerned?
Regarding this, FMM would like to ask the governments to have the factories, all the manufacturers to be as economic frontrunners. And we also would like to propose that the vaccinations should be able to be carried out at the factory sites with enough numbers of workers present there. And the vaccination, if carried out at the factory site, it will speed up the process and get the whole nations vaccinated faster.
Right. Now, looking at the pandemic, since we are talking about it, the pandemic has spurred manufacturers to basically accelerate their organizational transformation process. So what type of organizational change has the Malaysian manufacturers gone through in the past year of the pandemic?
During this period of COVID-19 pandemic, I believe a lot of organizations and the companies, they have one choice. That is to recalibrate and to reorganize the business models of the whole organizations. Because COVID-19 pandemic had totally changed the infrastructure of our economy models. For example, at the moment, a lot of the business can carry out through online or e-commerce. I believe that a lot of factories and companies, they are able to implement e-commerce platform so that they are able to push their products not only to domestic and also to internationals.
But wouldn't this exercise create a lot of additional expenditure and expense for these companies?
This is the initial set of costs cannot be avoided. You need to compete with the neighboring countries also, because all the industries are having change. We need to change.
Now, you're talking about change. So for manufacturers, the events of 2020 may be a warning to develop, like you mentioned, better systems for navigating disruption. So what is the most critical capacity for manufacturers in the upcoming months?
I can say 2020, not only a warning, we had been impacted seriously. These devastating effects have caused a lot of our companies now are suffering. So the most important for the manufacturers, what I can say is they must have a tight cost control, and they must also look into the cash flow management, because you must stay on. Now, if you are being wiped out, you cannot survive. So at the moment, the organizations and companies must be ready to face the challenges, especially during this period of time. It's the right time to do digitalizations and to do reskilling, upskilling, especially on manpower.
How does FMM relay this message to your members in terms of what you have just said?
FMM have been a strong proponent for these digitalizations. The FMM during 2018, together with MITI, we had launched Industry Forward to encourage all the industry players to involve in the Industry Revolution 4, so that they are able to be competitive and to make the process to become effective and efficient.
Right. So before we go for the break, I've just got one more question for you first. Now, the disruption in the manufacturing sector appears to increase the need for the greater workforce to be more agile, the agility. What are the required skills for manufacturing in the current economic landscape?
Now, regarding this agility of the workforce, I believe is a new normal also. Now, for any industries to be competitive, we need what we call a competitive and productive workforce, what we say a talents development. Now, currently, our TVET, technical and vocational education and trainings, are able to produce big teams of graduates. For your information, we have 1,200 of TVET institutes in Malaysia, and every year we can produce about 100,000 of TVET graduates. There are companies that are able to recruit these TVET graduates with a good starting pay. Some of them even can pay up to ringgit 2,000. So I believe that with this pool of the TVET graduates, they are able to increase the productivity and at the same time to enhance the company's efficiency.
Right. Tan Sri, thank you. We've just got to go for a commercial break. We're taking a short break, and when we return, we'll still be with Tan Sri Sotian Lai, President of the Federation of Malaysian Manufacturers, FMM. You're still tuning in to Money Matters as we speak to Tan Sri So Tian Lai, President of FMM. Tan Sri, manufacturers have navigated the COVID-19 challenges by enabling remote and virtual processes like monitoring, servicing, and equipment operation, all without the need to be on site. So what is the level of reliance on virtual processes?
Yeah, regarding this reliance on virtual processes, for factories is complex operations. It depends on factories to factories. Some factories, they are not able to use to the full of virtual processes, but some they are able to, like office. Now, also depend a lot on our interconnectivity and also the speed of the broadband and Wi-Fi. Now, I give an example. If you are having your factories at Klang Valleys, your broadband speed possible is high. Then if you are moving towards to the suburban, then your broadband speed is low. So how do we manage these situations is very important. That's why we urge the governments, please roll out a stable broadband and high-speed connectivity.
But has the government been engaging with you where this is concerned on your proposals?
Regarding this, I think government with their digital economic plan, national digital plan, blueprint, they have certain plan, especially on 5G rollout with 15 billion of investment on this. We have confidence that with this, I believe we are able to achieve a higher productivity nation.
Right. So talking about the supply chain, how can the fourth industrial revolution provide the opportunity to reach the next benchmark of effectiveness?
Regarding this question is, the supply chain normally will be improved if with the IR 4.0, especially the integrated planning and execution, logistic visibility, and smart manufacturing, spare parts management, and also autonomous and B2C logistics. Now, IR 4.0 is about speed, is about higher productivity. Now, if with this IR 4.0, a lot of the activities can carry out in a faster way, and output will be increased at least 30 to 40%. And this one definitely will enhance our nation's productivity, and also our skilled workforce are able to have a better income.
Right. Now, some businesses have been forced to close, prompting the need for manufacturers to sell directly to consumers. So how can manufacturers maintain a presence by switching to a direct-to-consumer D2C model?
D2C models during this MCO time, I believe quite many companies had ventured into it. We have many software companies are able to produce relevant software for B2C. Then with this setup, the companies able to do more businesses. And from our FMM MIS survey, using this e-commerce, their sales increased 30 to 70%.
Right. Now, you know, we're talking about businesses that have been forced to close, and looking at the COVID-affected sector, FMM has, if I'm not mistaken, over 10,000 members, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, has the manufacturing sector been the one that has been affected the most?
During this COVID-19 pandemic time, the industries, although affected, but they have still a lot of export activities. So far, the manufacturing sectors, compared to traveling, tourism, we are a bit lucky, not affected a lot.
Yeah, but in terms of companies that have closed?
The company had closed, some of them they closed because of restructuring.
Right.
Some of them they closed because merger and acquisitions. Some of them because, I don't say that there will be no company being closed. They are, but it's very small figures.
Right, okay. Now, obviously, as you mentioned, the manufacturing sector has suffered significant challenges in the past year. So with the current pandemic scenario, will this situation persist this year and beyond? It's hard to tell, right? But yeah.
Based on current scenario, I believe all industries and everyone are facing what we call COVID-19 pandemic fatigue syndrome. Everyone's felt that this COVID-19 pandemic had impacted their lives. So with this COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of industries need to make a lot of adjustment and changes. Our survey, FMM survey, although some of them, they feel that 2021 first half, they are still cautious. But the activities, when the government open up more activities, the business growth is there.
Right. Tan Sri, thank you. We've just got to go for another break. In the meantime, you can also catch today's episode and previous episodes of Money Matters on YouTube, and we'll see you shortly after this break. Thank you for staying with us on Money Matters, where we have in the studios with us Tan Sri So Tian Lai, President of FMM, speaking about the manufacturing sector. Tan Sri, looking at the skilled labour gap, how can we bridge the skilled labour gap in the manufacturing sector? Because FMM has also asked for lifting the freeze on foreign workers.
The skilled labour gap, this one will go back to many years because a lot of industries until today still over-dependent on foreign workers. Now, these issues and this problem of this gap must be solved. What questions we are asking now is what value proposition that the workforce able to generate for the industries? Are the foreign workers the one? Are the local workers? Now, the irony fact is that until today, the 3Ds job, difficult, dirty, dangerous job, local still very reluctant to take up. But the question is, how about IR 4.0 and smart manufacturing? Now, if these two, the industries implemented, will attract more local workforce. Another question they will ask, how much you are able to pay the local workers? Now, although Malaysia will have a minimum wage, now we believe that with the IR 4.0, with the smart manufacturing and all the automations, and the government also they give about 2 billion of grants for the industries, especially SMEs, to implement the smart manufacturing. And with this carry on, I believe that the gap can be narrow and we will recruit more locals. Now, FMM is always the strong proponent. Employ locals, buy made in Malaysia.
Right. Okay, now, in facing global trade challenges, what are the tools or methods can manufacturers use to respond to global trade situations?
Now, in order for us to be more competitive, we must have our paradigm shift, our mindset change. Number one is, are we able to invest on our human resource talents or not? Number two, are we able to put out our plan to implement IR 4.0? These two things, the industries must seriously look into it.
What about tapping into regional opportunities, Tan Sri? I mean, are there cooperation opportunities with neighboring countries for FMM? For your members?
For the market access, now FMMs all the time are working very closely with the government and will provide inputs to the government for all the free trade agreements. Now, Malaysia's the population is only around 32 million. It's too small. Now, all our export activities, basically about 60 to 70% generated through FTAs. And with this market access, the manufacturers in Malaysia are able to find a better markets. For example, RCEP and also CPTPP. And recently, FMM just signed an MOU with Eurochamp to have a task force to give inputs to the governments, to MITI, to study, to kickstart again Malaysia-EU FTAs.
Right. Okay, now, as you've mentioned, the government has taken initiatives to encourage foreign and local investments in the manufacturing sector. So what other types of assistance can be channeled to manufacturers?
On this note, FMM would like to applaud MITI's great efforts on the national investment aspirations. Now, these aspirations come in at the right time. They will focus on increased economic complexity. They will create high-value jobs. This is what we want and the nation wants, and extend the domestic linkage because there are a lot of the multinational in Malaysia. We need the vendors to be developed so they can supply to these multinationals as industry linkage program. And also to develop the new and existing clusters. And the last one is to improve inclusivity. Now, what FMM would like to say is the industry needs. Industry needs clarity policy, consistent policy, certainty policy, and this is very important in the sense that we need credibility policy also. And how to further encourage our exports and also encourage our productivity. I think that the government, the assistance we would like to suggest is to ask the banks to give more support to the SMEs. During this period of time, all the industries, especially micros and SMEs, need financial support. Although moratorium currently already removed, but government is say targeted moratorium for the SMEs. And a lot of banks, although they try, but there are a lot of procedures need to follow. But that's why we urge during this time, the government should ask the banks to give further support to SMEs so that they are able to survive. And also to improve investment climate. This is very important, to increase the confidence level, not only foreign direct investments, and also domestic direct investments.
Right.
So this is very important. And we also would like the governments to complete the nationwide immunization plans. And this is very critical for the whole country to have full recovery.
Right. Well, that's all the time we have. Thank you once again to Tan Sri So for joining us today. If you had missed today's episode, you can also catch it on YouTube, as I said just now. Until then, I'm Zahir Kelvinong Abdullah. Thank you for watching and stay safe.